Hi people, it's your girl Jane. It's Jane by Design. So here I'll be showing us how to draft, sew and cut this beautiful vest. I love it. This is something you must have in your closets. If this is something you're interested in, watch the video today and please subscribe to the channel, leave a like and remember to share, and let's jump straight into the video. So this is the material we'll be using for this tutorial. I have this white fabric and it's in the yard of 1.5 yard. I'm going to be applying ST to it, and also this is a lining as well. So now please guys pardon my voice, I have a cold. Okay, so now this is my pattern paper and we're going to be drafting on it first, then we can now transfer to the fabric later on. Now the first thing you need to do is to take your body measurements on your paper. Now at the top of my paper I'm going to input my measurements, my shoulder line, and also you see by the side I have marked out 1 inch. This is for the button hole extension for the front. Now what I'm doing now is to take my measurement from the shoulder to the bust and then down to the waist. So I'm marking out my shoulder, from shoulder to waist, from shoulder to bust, from the bust down to the waist. Then I'll be connecting them with a straight line. Okay, so after that is done, we are going to head back to the shoulder line. You take half of your shoulder measurement and you place a mark there. Repeat the same thing towards the chest line, half of your shoulder measurement. Come down for the armhole line by 1 inch. Then you mark your armhole measurement. Then you're going to connect with a straight line, leaving the 1 inch at the top. Then you connect it outward. So this will be for the chest line. Now back to your shoulder line. You're going to take your neck width. For the neck width I'll take 3 inches. Then I'm going to be connecting the shoulder slope to the neck width. After that is done, we are going to work on the armhole. You take the midpoint of your armhole line, come in by half of an inch, go to your chest line, mark half quarter of your bust circumference on your chest line, add your ease allowance. I added half an inch for ease. Then I take my armhole ruler to connect the armhole for the front. After you've gotten the armhole for the front, you move down to your chest, to your waistline, You take quarter of your waist circumference on your waistline. Then you also take your bust band for the darts. You place your bust band measurement on the waist and also on your bust line. On your bust line, you're going to come down by 1 inch. And then on the waistline, you're going to take a dart of 0.5 inch on both sides. Okay. Then you are now going to connect to touch 1 inch away from the bust line, and then you're going to connect your dart legs to touch this point. After you've taken your darts, the next thing to do is to go back to your waist and put your quarter of your waist circumference, and then you are going to be replacing the darts on the waistline. Then the next thing is to now connect the side seam together. You're going to be connecting the chest line to touch your waistline. After that is done, we're going to move up to the neckline. So for the neck depth of the front, I'm going to be making use of 7.5 inch. Okay, so I'm just ensuring that I don't want my neck width to be too deep. Sorry, the neck depth to be too deep. So I'm going to be taking 7.5 inch. Now what you're going to do is, when you're connecting the neckline of your top of the front, please note that the line is going to run across the button line. Okay, so see the way I placed my ruler, I'm going to draw my V neckline to touch the 1 inch extension for the button. So after that is done, we're going to work on the princess seam. So this vest is going to have a princess seam, and the princesses usually come from the armhole. So at the midpoint where you have your armhole, you're going to place your ruler and then you're going to create a curve to touch your bust point. So this way you've created the princess seam on your pattern. So just ensure that your curves comes out correct and your princess seam runs from the middle of your armhole down to touch the bust point of your pattern. Now I'm just smoothing out all of the sides. So coming down to the bust line, from the bust line I have 1 inch bust dart. I'm going to be marking that to touch the bust line as well. Now from the waistline we're going to come down by 2 inches. This is just so that we give this vest some form of structure at the lower part. It doesn't hang on the natural waistline. So I will come down by 2 inches and then I marked that across. So whatever measurement you have on your waist is what you're going to place on the new line. Then you are going to connect by the side. So when you are connecting by the side, you're not going to be marking a straight line down. You're going to just give it a slight curve at that side. After that, from that new line now, from the new waistline we have, we're going to come down again by 4 inches. So go ahead and mark 4 inches all across and then square it out with your ruler. Okay, so after marking out 4 inches below the new waistline, you're going to come in by 3 inches, and then you use your ruler to connect towards the button extension we have in the front. So just watch how I just connected that right now. And also you are going to connect the other side as well to touch the side seam. So that way you've created that shape. You see that design we have on a waistcoat? We've just done that now. So the next thing I'm do is to just bring down my dart leg. So just extend your dart leg to touch the hem of the vest and reconnect the darts, and that will be it for the darts and the lower part. So what I will do after this now is to cut out my dart. So we need to close the side dart so that we can transfer the dart to the armhole. So what I'm doing here is to cut open the dart we have, the line we have on our armhole. We're going to slash it open all the way down to touch the bust line. And also you come down to your bust side dart, you're going to slash open all the way down to touch the bust line. Then you are going to fold in the darts for the side. So you see, the moment you fold in your darts for the side, it automatically transfers to the armhole. So I'm going to just fold my darts now, the side darts. I'm going to use my tape to tape it down, okay? So just get your tape and tape down the side darts of the pattern, okay? So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm taping it down. And after you're done taping that, you notice that the sides does not align. So you're going to take your tape, you're going to take your ruler, and you're going to mark out the sides again so that whatever you have, whatever shortage you have there will be replaced back. So I've done that right now. The next thing to do is to just cut out the dart at that point, okay? I'm going to be cutting out the darts at that point. So before I cut out, I decided to add 1/2 inch at the lower part, and I also added 1 inch by the side, okay? So here I'm going to be cutting out this pattern after I've added 1/2 inch by the side and 1 inch by the side. After I've added 1/2 inch at the lower part, sorry, and 1 inch by the side, I'm going to now go ahead and cut out my dart. So just see how I'm doing it. It's easy, okay? So now we are done cutting out the darts, and then I'm cutting out the lower part as well, and also the sides of this pattern. All right, so just take it slow. I'm not going to be adding a sewing allowance to the armhole. That is why I didn't add a sewing allowance at that point. So after cutting, we'll move back to the front panel. Now on that neckline, you're going to be having some form of gaping at that point. So I'm going to be taking a dart of 1/2 inch on the neckline. Because it's a V neckline, you might have some form of gaping. The lower your neckline, the more your pattern is prone to have gaping. So I'll be taking 1/2 inch darts on that area. So I've marked out 1/2 inch on my neckline, connecting to touch the armhole extension for the front. So what I will do is to turn it, and then we are going to cut one side of the dart. So flip your pattern towards you, then ensure that when you are cutting it open, do not cut all the way through to the paper. Ensure that the paper does not rip apart. So now I've cut it open. I'm now going to place it on top of it to close off the dart. Okay, so I'll just place it on top of it, and we are going to be closing off the darts. Remember that I took a dart of 1/2 inch on that area, so I'm going to take my tape now and I'm going to tape it down. So as you can see, after taping it down, you see that the neckline kind of shifted. Do you see that the lines are not even anymore? So what we are going to do now, you're going to grab your ruler and you are going to smoothen out the line so that you have a straight line or a curvy line. So at this point, I'm going to use the curvy part of my ruler and I'm going to recreate the curve for the front. All right, so I'm going to recreate the curve for the front. So this way we've eliminated any form of gaping that might occur at the neckline. So now you can now go ahead and cut out the remaining parts of this pattern. Look at the shoulder line. I added 1/2 inch at the shoulder line. Okay, so for the neckline and the button side, the button extension, I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch on those area when I transfer them to my fabric. So when I place this pattern on my fabric to cut out, I'm just going to be adding 1/2 inch at the neckline and also at the button extension. So this is what our pattern looks like right now. Now to see what it looks like, you can see that the bust aligns and the princess seam aligns. Now we are going to do a little bit of contouring at the armhole line, also just so that we don't have that part gaping. I would want mine to relax properly at the armhole. So what I will do here is at the tip of my front panel, I'm going to take away 1 inch. Now taking away 1 inch will also reduce gaping towards the armhole. So you just take your tape and you're going to measure out 1 inch, get your armhole curve and mark out that 1 inch. All right, so get your armhole curve and then you just go ahead and mark out that 1 inch. After marking out that 1 inch, you take your scissors and you're going to be cutting out that tip. This contouring is going to allow the armhole to rest properly on your arm, on the body, and it's not going to gape. All right, so now that we've cut out 1 inch out of the pattern, I'm going to bring back the front panel so that you can measure it and see. So at this point, you notice that our pattern does not align. We have some form of shortage on that area, so we are going to replace that shortage back. Okay, so I want you to understand this concept. This is just so that we can prevent gaping at the armhole. So what you do is to get a sheet of paper. All right, place your pattern on top of a piece of paper. Use your tape to hold the paper down. Now at the tip of your princess seam, you're going to extend it by 1 inch. All right, so we're going to go ahead and extend by 1 inch. This is to make up for the shortage that we have at the armhole. After extending, you take your ruler and then you are going to reconnect. So just go ahead now and cut out the excess, and you will see that when you make this princess seam, it's going to relax carefully, and you would really love it because it won't gape at that area. Now that is done, I'm going to bring back the front again, and we're going to remeasure to see if it aligns. So that you can see how I'm placing it on top of each other, beside each other, sorry, and you can see that it aligns with the front. So now this is what the front looks like. I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch sewing allowance by the side when I transfer to my fabric. Right now I'm just measuring out, I'm just marking out and labeling what each of the lines I have, so when I'm ready to stitch this up I don't get confused on what part is what part. So this is the back. Already we know how to draft a basic bodice. This is just your normal basic bodice. And then the 2-inch extension we marked for the front, you're just going to repeat the same thing for the back. After you've taken your waistline, you're going to mark 2-inch extension below the waistline. Then we took 1-inch darts on our waistline. Okay, on the waistline we took 1-inch darts, and also at the center back of the front I went in by 0.5 inch, just so that we can eliminate any form of bulginess at the back of this pattern. So after you have taken quarter of your waist circumference on your waistline and the extension we have on the waistline, we are now going to be connecting them. Remember, when you are connecting the sides, remember to tilt it, give it a slant by the side. So now that is done, all you can do now is to cut out. So I'll be adding 1-inch stitching allowance to the side of this pattern, and also at the lower side, at the hem of this vest, I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch to it, and that will be all. I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch to the shoulder line, and also I will be leaving the armhole like that. I'm not going to be adding any allowances to the armhole and to the neckline. So the armhole and the neckline of the back, I'm not going to be adding any allowances to it. The same thing I did for the front. I didn't add any allowance to the armhole of the front. So after you are done adding all of your stitching allowances, the next thing is to cut out the pattern. All right, so we're going to be cutting out. You can see how easy and simple. Once you are able to draft your basic bodice as a beginner, it's a guide for you to use in all of your garment construction. So this is just a very easy and simple process. Once you are able to get your measurements accurately and you are able to draft a basic body. So this is it. I've cut out all of the parts that needs to be cut out. So this is what our back panel would look like. I'm going to bring the front so that you see what they both look like, and ensure that the side of the back corresponds with the side of the front. Remember, we took 1 inch for side darts of the front, so the side of the front and the back has to correspond. So I'm just placing them both sides together and ensuring that they both match each other. So this is what it should look like when you are done drafting your pattern. Okay, so now that we are done drafting, the next thing we are going to do is to transfer this pattern onto our fabric, and then we are going to be cutting out on the fabric. Now we've cut out the pattern on the fabric. This is what it looks like. Now I'll go ahead to join the front panels together. I iron my interfacing on the front panel and the back panel. So the only places I ironed interfacing is the main fabric. I didn't iron an interfacing on the lining. So now I'm pinning down the both sides of the front right sides facing. Then after pinning down, we'll take to the machine and we're going to stitch by 1/2 inch on both sides of the front panel. And also for the back, we have a dart at the back of this pattern of this vest. I'm going to take to the machine and we are going to stitch up the dart. So we're going to stitch down the darts for the back. Now whatever you do for the main fabric, this is the lining, you are going to be repeating the same thing for the lining as well. Okay, so just assemble your lining the way you assemble the front. Match them together, match the seams with your pin and take to the machine, and you're going to be stitching up by 1/2 inch. I will recommend 1/2 inch for stitching any day, anytime. Okay, so take to the machine and stitch by 1/2 inch. After that is done, this is what the back looks like. So after you have stitched up the dart for the back, now we are going to be closing off the center back of the back panel. I am just pinning down so they align properly. So just take your time, pin down. This is a very simple and easy sewing tutorial. So once you watch this carefully and follow the instructions, you should be able to replicate this on your pattern, on your fabric. So right now I'm pinning down, and then after pinning, I'll take to the machine and stitch down by 1/2 inch. All right, so this is my front. After I've stitched down both sides of the front, this is what it looks like. Ensure that you iron it properly. Open the seam. You can see all of my seams are properly ironed and opened. So now we are going to be joining the front and the back at the shoulder line. So you're going to grab your front panel, one part of the front panel, place it on the back and pin down. You do the same thing for the other side. Place it on the back shoulder line and you're going to match the shoulders. Use your pins to match the shoulders. And after that, you take to the machine and you're going to be stitching by 1/2 inch at the shoulder of this pattern. Okay, so now we've joined the main fabric at the shoulder line. Okay, this is what it looks like. I've ironed it out as well. I've ironed out the seam at the center back and also at the shoulder. So now we are going to be joining the fabric and the lining together. So I also did the same thing for the lining. I ironed it out at the center back and also the shoulder line. So now you're going to be matching the center back of the main fabric and the center back of the lining. And also at the shoulder, you're going to be matching the seams at the shoulder so that it corresponds nicely. And after that is done, we're also going to pin down the armhole as well. Okay, so you see what I have. I'm going to pin down the armhole and we're going to be stitching that out. All right, so for the two armhole, we're going to stitch, and also for the neckline of the front and the back and the opening at the front, we're going to be stitching it down. So after we are done stitching, this is what it looks like. I've stitched the shoulder, I've stitched the neckline, and I've stitched my armhole. So I'm going to place tiny notches towards the armhole and the neckline just so that our seams will relax nicely when we turn this to the right side. So I'm going ahead to notch the neckline of the back and the front, and also the armhole as well. Areas where you have curves on your stitches, you do well to place notches on them. So after placing those notches, I'm going to turn this inside out. So just go ahead and grab the fabric and you're just going to be pulling it out. Okay, you can see the way I'm working on it. Just put your hands inside and you're going to be pulling out the fabric to reveal the good side of your garments. All right, so this is what it looks like. You can see that our stitches have not yet relaxed. That is because we've not taken this to the iron yet. So I'm going to poke out the little sharp edges we have in front and also by the side so that those places can come out well when we take to the iron to iron it out. So just take your little scissors to poke out the edges so that they come out looking sharp and clean. Okay, so I also recommend, if you want to, you can add a hemming gum inside before turning this, so that when you iron it out, it will help the lining to stay inside the fabric without poking out. But here is what I have after ironing, and it looks really good. So now we are going to join the sides. So to join the sides, you're going to grab the main fabric to main fabric, lining to lining, align the seams at the side, and then pin down, take to the sewing machine and stitch by 0.75 inch on both sides of the side seams. Okay, so after stitching, this is what it looks like on the inside. You can see that all of my stitches are all concealed inside. They are not showing outside, which is very beautiful. I love how it came out. Next thing to do is to work on the hem of this waistcoat. So you're going to tuck in all of your fabric inside. All of the good sides of your fabric, you're going to tuck it in. Then you're going to use pins to secure both the lining and the fabric. So ensure that the right sides are all facing inside and the wrong side is what you have facing you. So you're going to match all of your seams. Very important. You're going to match all of your seams. Ensure that your seams matches each other. Pin it down, take to the sewing machine, and you're going to be stitching by 0.5 inch at the hem. Now you're going to be leaving about 2.5 inch or 3 inch thereabouts, so that when you're done stitching, you are going to be turning this to the right side. So that's what I've done here, and this is what it looks like. I've ironed it as well. For the opening at the hem, I used my hemming gum to secure that edge. You can do a hand stitch if you know how to do that. And this is what it looks like. I love how this vest came out. It's looking really beautiful and professional. So at the end of the day, this is what we have. The next thing is to add your buttons. I'm going to do 3-inch spacing for my buttons, and after that we are good. So just go ahead, create your buttonholes and add the button of your choice to your waistcoat. And yeah, this is what it looks like. I love how this came out. If you're going to be doing this, let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one. Stay blessed. Bye.